And Joe Weider told me before he passed away, and I said, Joe, how come I can't win? And he said, it's not that you're not good enough to win. It's not that Flex Wheel is not good enough to win, or Sean Ray isn't good enough to win. It's not that, Levrone. He said, this is a business. But if I take you guys and I shuffle you guys around first, second, or third, I'm still going to make the same amount of money. It's just that you guys are going to be personally rewarded, but I'm going to make the same amount of money if Flex was Mr. Olympia, you or Sean Ray. But Dorian opens up another whole umbrella, opens up another whole market in his business.
Welcome back to RXMuscle's Iron Road to the Olympia 2023. I'm Dave Palumbo. And today we are joined by a very good friend of mine, two-time Arnold Classic champ, bodybuilding Hall of Famer, legend in this sport. Everyone knows who the man they call Kevin Levrone is. Welcome back to the show, Kev.
Thank you very much, David. Good to be here, man.
Yeah. You've been a busy man. You're traveling all over the world. Every time I look at, your Facebook and Instagram, you're someplace else.
Yeah. It's been a busy year for us. I enjoy it because it's embedded, through the responsibilities that we've taken on through, of course, Joe, had all the shows after the Mr. Olympia. So you get acclimated to everything. And yeah, man, it kind of broke me in and got me prepared for the business aspect of things,
Yeah, well, you're a lot of people don't realize the Levrone Signature Series is very big over in Europe, Middle East. I mean, you when I went to Dubai that a couple years ago and we were talking, you were everywhere. I mean, you really found a niche for yourself where your company, you're not competing in the U.S. with a million different companies. You're over there and you're slaying it over there.
Yeah, it's an international sport, right? Joe let us know that. So the reach is it's actually what I see difference, a huge difference is, when I go to the countries now, health and fitness, it's definitely elevated to another whole level to where back, when Joe was around and we would do the tours, it was probably like 25%, but now it's these guys are like, it's huge, and it's grown. And it's good to see that happening in so many countries. I was in Nepal, and it's just taken off. It's huge as far as, the health and fitness and kids and the younger generation, which was, I was really impressed. So many young kids in college and stuff, they want to know about, staying fit and everything. So just by the grace of God, and the vision that Joe and them had, I mean, it opened the window of opportunity for me and our corporation to implement, the structure through health and fitness. And here we are today, right? We're doing really well.
Did you, do the people know who you are? Like when you go to all these countries, are you very well known? Because I know
Yeah,
that's what I thought. Middle East especially, right? Middle East. Crazy,
yeah,
right?
And Dave, I sat there and I look and I observe, and of course, always, see who's standing in line and who's there. And I see very few bodybuilders, maybe like 10% are actually hardcore bodybuilders, and I see the curve of how, the industry has changed, and it's become so much more mainstream. The audience that I pull, is a mainstream audience, probably, just teenagers up to like mid-20s, early 30s and stuff like that. And I think that has a lot to do with social media, the world outreach, as far as the social media network and the platform. And then, of course, we have to give credit to the federation, because if they've opened up so many different categories now, to where it's not just hardcore bodybuilding. When we were there competing, that was the main thing. But now it's just fitness across the globe.
Plus, let's not kid ourselves. In the Middle East, in some of these countries, bodybuilding is like the next, under soccer, bodybuilding is the one of the most popular sports and respected. The government likes it. They fund these guys. And, back in your day, if a guy hit it or made it in the IFBB, what'd they do? They moved to the United States, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, they're not even leaving. Like Rami's not leaving. Hattie Choopan is not leaving. These guys are like celebrities in their country. And so why would they leave? I mean, they're like rock stars over there. And I'm sure you do this when you go over there. Even I saw it when I went over there. And I'm like shocked that people still know who I am. And they're like, Dave Palumbo. And I wasn't even a pro. And so they really respect the bodybuilders over there.
Yeah, they do. I mean, it's a culture to where, there's no liquor, there's no nightclubs, there's no, these guys are very, very religious. They pray, 6 times a day. And that's all they have is that gym, and you see gyms now over there, like, what's that one huge
Benai's Club. Yeah, Benai's Club.
Yeah, I mean, it's 3 or 4 levels, stores. It looks like a hotel. Some of them look bigger than hotels.
It's insane.
And I've had the pleasure of touring that place, and it was just amazing and phenomenal to see how much the sport has grown and how much they've become educated on the importance of health and fitness, right? Yeah. So they realize that, and I mean, it's just man, it's incredible to see the growth and how far things have come.
And Kevin, when you see like Saudi Arabia throwing ridiculous amounts of money at some of these golfers, right, or soccer players, that are playing over there, I mean, they're getting like $100 million. I mean, it's like absurd amounts of money, which for these oil sheiks is really not a lot of money. And I see that in Qatar and Dubai, they have that kind of money too, and they respect athletics there. That's why I've been really campaigning for, I think they should move the Olympia to one of these countries where someone will put up that kind of money and give $1 million away to the, or maybe $5 million away to the Olympia winner. I mean, wouldn't you love, you competed back in the day, $100,000 was a big deal when you won the Arnold Classic. I mean, wouldn't you love to see guys winning $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million?
Yeah, of course. And, bodybuilding is one of the hardest sports on the face of this planet to do. And it's well deserved. And these guys are underpaid. When you see these athletes, football players and soccer players, like you said, and they're making, $200-300 million in a 5-year period of time. And you sit back and you look at our sport and you wonder, wow, what do we need to do to get it to that point? And hopefully one day, which we all keep these crossed, right?
Yeah.
And keep pushing and everything. And maybe one day, I don't know if it'll happen through our lifetime, but it would be definitely nice to see. But, my advice for the guys who are professionals and the guys who are in our sport, and one thing that Joita told me was you have to leverage it as a business. Use the opportunity, the worldwide marketing that we have now to just market your brand, market who you are, and just go after the masses, because these athletes do have the masses, at them. So, they're just going to have to go ahead and just push it.
Would there be a point in time, maybe, I know you're involved heavily in your supplement company now, but maybe when you're not so involved, maybe you sell it down the road or something like that. Would you ever be like a person who, because of all your contacts in the Middle East, would want to maybe promote a big super show out there and get that kind of prize money? Because you have the charisma to kind of corral all these players together to get that kind of capital put together and to put on like a mega event where it would give away the kind of prize money that you as a bodybuilder, when you were competing, would have loved to have won.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, I'm always willing to take on a challenge. You know that.
Yeah, no, I know you
and give back to the sport and do something that hasn't never been done before. Right. And if if the right timing, and timing is everything, we know timing is everything. Right. The right partners come along, because you definitely need the right team to pull something like that off. and collectively, you know, some smart brains around you to be able to do that.
Sure.
And but yeah, I will definitely take on a challenge like that if the opportunity, you know, arises.
I think it's going to happen sooner than later. I really do. I think that these players in the Middle East have the money, and they like to do things in extravagant ways, as you can see when you go to Dubai and Qatar and, you know, all these countries in the Middle East. They have these, you know, it makes New York City look like a joke now. You know,
It certainly does.
I hate to say it. Being an American, I have a lot of pride, but it is pretty pathetic. You know, that what they're doing compared to us. You know,
I just came back from Dubai. You know, I was there for about 8 or 9 days, and I'm going to go back again for, you know, the muscle show coming up, the Dubai muscle show coming up. Yeah, it's just good to get out and to see the experience of all the different countries, how people think,
right?
And you know, and just build, you know, build your brain, build, you know, build that vision. You know, get out and build that vision as athletes. We can't get stagnant and stuck just underneath the American umbrella, you know, because there's so much stuff going on here in this country. Everybody's pulled in so many different ways, and there's so much division. It's good to get out, you know, and travel the world and spend, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 days in each country to see what you can actually change and improve within those countries. So I enjoy the traveling part.
What country do you enjoy the most?
You know,
why?
People always ask me this, and I think I probably hit 20 countries this year, and I got another 4 more to go. Every country has something unique and special. The culture, the food.
Who's got the best food? Who's got the best food in your mind?
You know, to be honest with you, Greece.
Really?
You know, the food in Greece is great. You know, I love the fish, and I still eat, like, you know, the fish. When I go, I look for the fish. I love Poland. I love, Middle Eastern countries. I mean, they have great fish too.
Yeah.
You know, a taste of curry and stuff throughout India, and that's good for change.
Of course.
All of the countries, you know, they have their. And when I go, I try to get out amongst the town, the villages in the town where you can get a real concept of the culture, you know, indulge in that and get a true feeling and get educated on what's going on. And that way, you know, you're not coming back to the USA so ignorant and judging people.
Kev, I went to Dubai in '96, and, you know, they were treating us. I was with Milos and a couple other, you know, bodybuilders at the time, and they were taking us around, and they would take us to these different restaurants, and I was dieting at the time, you know, for a show. And I'm like, they're like, what do you want? I'm like, well, if you have fish. They're like, fish, we have tons of fish. So they take me to this restaurant, and they're like, what kind of fish do you want? I'm like, I don't know. What do you got? So they actually come out with these big, like, fish, and they're showing me the actual fish. It's still flopping around.
Yes.
I'm like, which one do you want? So I said, is that a white fish? Because it looked pretty nice. I said, yeah, all right, I'll take that. You can make my dinner with that. So they come out. So I'm waiting. It's waiting for like 45 minutes. I'm like starving, you know, because I'm dieting. And the thing, finally, they bring the food out, big trays, and they have like this metal tray. It's about this big, and they put it down. I thought they're going to serve the whole table. They put it right in front of me, and I lift the thing up, and it's the whole fish.
Of course. And you know why? Because it's you know, the skin and everything holds the flavor and holds the oils.
It was awesome. It was
delicious.
I ate the whole thing. I ate every ounce of that fish. I ate.
And some of the countries, you know, a lot of the Middle Eastern guys, they like to eat with their hands. And I'm like, well, why do you eat with your hands? You know, the rice, and they ball it up and they eat. They say because of the flavor. You know.
Interesting.
Yeah, because of the flavor. And you think about it, you know, that's why we have these fingers, right?
That's right.
And, you know, man created utensils and silver and all that stuff. But really, I could understand. We're always licking our fingers when we eat food sometimes anyway. So that was unique. I was like, wow, okay.
You've been to the Asian countries, you know, when they give you a bowl of rice, they give you chopsticks with it. And people are like, how am I supposed to eat rice with chopsticks? I need a spoon, but, you know, they take the bowl, they take the chopsticks, they funnel it to their mouth. I would have gotten smacked if I was eating at the dinner table like that, but that's their culture.
Going, you know, the noise is crazy.
With the soup and the noodles, you're right.
Yeah.
I love it too. I love it. Which is so you got the favorite food was Greece. Which country?
Well, one of the places, but they all have good food. But food.
We're just you know, we're playing the fun game. What country gave you the biggest reception, like the biggest fanfare in terms of, like, you know, oh, Kevin Levrone?
Oh man, it's hard to say because everywhere where I went was packed and jam packed. Nepal,
Really, Nepal? Really?
Nepal was just incredible. Peru was off the
Really?
charts.
Wow.
Yeah, Peru was off the charts. They had to block. I mean, it was like the whole street got blocked, got shut down. You
That's crazy.
know,
It was just you?
yeah, it was just the police officers. I
Wow.
mean, it was like thousands and thousands of people. That was a place I think I was there for about 4 or 5 hours.
Are you amazed that that many people would come out to see you?
Yeah, it blows me away. And then I'm looking at the age of the people, and then I hear the stories. Some of them travel 8, 9 hours, 800
Wow.
miles
Wow.
just to see me. And my first thing is, how do you even know me?
That's what I
You
wonder.
know, I'm like,
Yeah, where
these
do they
kids
know you from?
weren't even born when I was competing, you know?
It's
But
crazy.
you know what? They say, my father told me about you, or I read about you, and it's just passed down through the generations, man.
Yeah. Well,
You
Kevin,
know?
you do have almost 2 million followers on Instagram, so you obviously have a lot of
Yeah.
people that follow you worldwide. So,
TikTok is a big thing.
are you doing the TikTok thing? I'm just starting to do TikTok.
It's
I
crazy.
I hate that
Yeah.
they keep coming out with new social media things. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I got to do this now, and I got to check messages here, and
You got to get the young office crew
I
to work for
know.
you, Dave.
I look.
That's the
I
key.
just
The young minds,
hired
man.
someone. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know me though. I like I got to get my hands on everything personally because people
I
like
know,
the fact
man.
that you can communicate with them personally. They don't want to think they're communicating with someone else.
Yeah.
So
Talking about communicating, man, you're doing a great job, and I'm
oh,
thank you
thank you.
for asking me to come on
We love
the
having you.
show. It's been a while, so thank you
All
for
right.
that.
You're very welcome. You're
Yeah.
welcome anytime. Now, let me ask you this question about the upcoming Olympia. I know you don't follow the sport the way you used to, but it's irrelevant. Hattie Choopan won the Olympia last year. He was the best man on stage. A lot of people say, "Why did he win?" He was the best man on stage, and he's coming back now to defend. I mean, you have never been in that position where you've won the Olympia, although you've been second a few times. What does the mindset of the guy coming back, who's the victor, who is now being questioned, like, is he legitimate? If you win two, you kind of legitimize. But if you only win one and you never win another, it's kind of like, well, maybe it was a fluke. What advice would you give Hattie Choopan if you had to tell him what to focus on for this show?
Looking at him and observing him, and from what I feel from his character and what little I know about him, I think his mindset is ahead of the game. And I say that because looking at him, I can tell that this guy is tough. He's a raging bull. There's no soft sides that I see about his personality or his nature. I believe that he does have that killer instinct. And when I talk about the vision, I think by him winning, it's going to make him even more hungrier to get better. There was no doubt that he's a hard trainer. There's no doubt that I know that this guy definitely knows how to suffer and to go in that gym and put that work in,
Right.
without people picking the weights up for him and putting it on. He doesn't have that sissified baby personality.
Right.
You understand? This
Right.
guy, I think he's zoned in. I think he's hungry. And I think knowing that he has his country behind him and what he's competing for is going to give him that extra drive that he needs to take it to another level. And every Mr. Olympia who I competed against, they've gotten better and better and better.
Right.
And I think this guy's definitely out to prove a point, to prove that he's a worthy champion, to earn more than just 2 Mr. Olympias.
Yeah, and plus he's not training in the lap of luxury. He's in his country in Iran, and he's training, probably the same gym he's trained at his whole life, and he's not clouded over by what's going on here in America. He's not, being distracted by it. He probably doesn't, he doesn't speak English very well, so he's not reading all the comments that everyone's got.
For him, it's not about the showmanship. It's not about the glitz and glamour. It's about what he can do to earn that title for his people and his country. And these guys will die for their country. We already know that. That bloodline is running deep. The guy is he's mentally at another level.
Yeah. When you took second that first year that you competed against Dorian, for your first Olympia, when you obviously second was you were probably over the moon for that because you probably didn't think you would even be that high. What was your mindset, coming off that show? I mean, after the show was over.
Yeah, my mindset going into the show, because coming off the show and going into the show, during the show, it's all the same, was to win. I never competed just to place. I always wanted to win. My mindset going when I had got there, getting second, it blew me away. It was like a dream come true. I had to almost pinch myself. I still really didn't believe it. And I felt like, wow, it was kind of easy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Coming off the show, I felt like I had a chance to possibly be Mr. Olympia one day, but I had no idea that Dorian Yates was going to come back and consistently grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger throughout the next 6 years. So I was faced with that. Dorian Yates was that guy that pushed me to the next level to get bigger and, train a little harder, because I trained with the vision in mind is to beat him. And the thing about him was, you never know what he was going to look like, because you see the pictures that Chris Lund would take, but the pictures will come out like a month before the Mr. Olympia, and you look at the picture, you're like, damn, it's over already. The guy gained another 12 or 13 or 15 pounds of pure muscle. It was a lot of grit and a lot of hardcore stuff going on mentally for me, as well as physically trying to figure out how to get bigger. So I always had a vision in mind, and I would try to do the research and figure out what he was doing, figure out what I could do to get better.
You tore your pec though right after that, right?
I tore my chest right after that because I came home and I was in the gym, bench pressing 600 pounds. I was always, and I would have, if I didn't tear it then, I would have tore eventually somewhere else because I wasn't going to stop.
Right. When you think about that and you think back to that, I know it's terrible to do this, but I'm sure you've done it, rehearsed it in your mind. You go back and say, if I didn't tear my pec and I would have progressed on the trajectory I was going, because you were making, the gains that you were making from year to year were insane. You theoretically might have beat Dorian, because you were making the same insane gains that he was, and you were younger at that point. Did you ever think about maybe if I never tore the pec, maybe I would have, won the Olympia and I would have beat him? Because you had the genetics for it.
We can say shoulda, coulda, woulda, and people always ask me if there's anything I would change. I wouldn't change anything. If I had got bigger, I probably would have took more stuff. If I had got bigger, I might not even be here right now. I was just that guy, that had that insane mentality to where I was going to keep doing what I needed to do until something happens to draw me mentally back in. And I do think that was probably the saving grace of my career, because, people say, well, Kevin didn't train hard enough. Well, that's bullshit. I bust my ass and I trained hard, and I did brought quads. And at some point, you got to let reality check in and say, hey, I'm either going to cross the line and die, or put my life at risk dying, which I felt like I put my life at risk too. And then you got to also realize that how far do you want to take this thing, until it's probably too late. You got to think, man. I watched Momo Benaziza, he died, trying to win a Mr. Olympia title because he overdid things. I do believe that was a blessing in disguise when I tore my pec, because at that point, I had to step back. And I also realized when I stepped back that I didn't need, to train and push my body like that all year round to get to a level to compete. I just could do it in 4 months.
Right.
With your help, you've helped me.
I can attest to the fact that
you've actually helped me.
Yeah, I tell people this story all the time, Kevin, and they've probably heard it, but I can't tell it enough. Your genetics were so good that when I went to your house and you took your stuff off you and posed for me, and I was like over 300 pounds at the time, that I wanted to quit. I said, because I knew I knew I didn't admit it to myself, but I knew deep down that my genetics, my structure was not what your structure was. So even though I could put as much muscle as I possibly can, I could be the most conditioned guy on stage, I could never beat someone of your caliber because of the fact that there's a genetic component to bodybuilding that no one talks about, that you had, that other people didn't have. And that's why, you didn't have to push your body to the extremes that maybe some of these other guys do, because you did have gifts that were beyond other people. And it's hard to explain to people that, and because everyone wants to be Mr. Olympia, right? When they start out, and everyone is delusional to think, well, if I add enough muscle and I come in condition and I eat my food and do my diet, that I have a chance. But not everyone has a chance. No. They really don't.
No, what I've learned from that was I'm alive today. I'm healthy today. I have life after bodybuilding. And it just, not all the time what you want is what God wants for you, you know?
True.
And, we can be foolish and we can make the wrong decisions and go after something and end up having it destroy our lives, which we've seen a lot of us bodybuilders have, a lot of them are gone because we live in their decisions that we make. It just wasn't written in my lifetime to be Mr. Olympia. It was written for me to do exactly what I'm doing now, be an influence to many thousands of millions of kids around the world and so many countries around the world. And that was a platform that bodybuilding gave to me, which completely blew up and flourished into where it is today. So, and I always say this, when you think your life is falling apart, just hold on, because there's a greater plan. All you got to do is get out of the way, continue to work hard, not take things personal, but look at this opportunity that the sport is giving you as a business. And Joe Weider told me before he passed away, and I said, Joe, how come I can't win? And he said, it's not that you're not good enough to win. It's not that Flex Wheel is not good enough to win, or Sean Ray isn't good enough to win. It's not that, Levrone. He said, this is a business. But if I take you guys and I shuffle you guys around first, second, or third, I'm still going to make the same amount of money. It's just that you guys are going to be personally rewarded, but I'm going to make the same amount of money if Flex was Mr. Olympia, you or Sean Ray. But Dorian opens up another whole umbrella, opens up another whole market in his business.
He told me that,
yeah, and he said, don't take that personal. But what I'll do is, he said, I'll put you on a 60-second edition of Muscle and Fitness, and that's when he put me on Muscle and Fitness. The cover ended up getting a black and white cover, and when he told me that, it made sense, and I didn't take it personal, and I never complained. Even if I got second, I never complained. But what I did was, he says, you're in shape. Why don't you go win all the other shows, win that money, and you'll come home with a lot more money than the Mr. Olympia made.
Yeah, that's true.
It made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense. And that's why I said, you know what? I'm going to take every opportunity, all my training, all my dieting for the last 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it is. And when you're in shape, don't take it personal if you don't win a contest. Go to the next show. Try to do better. It's a business. Use it to market yourself. And that's exactly what I did. Every year I would sign up, I would get on the tours, and I would enjoy myself doing it, and it just opened me up to another whole avenue of how you can make money from the sport globally, and it's paying off for my company today.
It's such a mature outlook on life, Kevin. And I don't know if you always had that maturity, but to know that you saw the big picture and you were able to remove your ego from what, because I mean, let's face it, you had the tool set, like Joe said, to win the Olympia, but you said to yourself, you know what, I see a different vision for myself. And you followed that. No, despite what other people said, despite what, what maybe your ego would have wanted you to do. And that's admirable, because it's hard to do that, in the face of when you're actually in the midst of it. Looking back, it's easy to say, okay, that's what I did. But while you're in the midst of it, to actually have that awareness of yourself and what the real goal for yourself is I find that admirable, because I don't think many people have that maturity.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave.
So that's funny that Joe said that. Yeah, I mean, I think wasn't your biggest take when you won that Russian Grand Prix and they gave you cash or something like that? Was it like 100?
Yeah, it was like 75.
I mean, no one did better than you on that tour because that was cash,
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, yeah.
Russian Mafia brought us over in 1994. I remember that.
You guys probably
They thought it was kind of rude too. They thought it was very, very rude that I was leaving like the next 2 days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they wanted me to stay there, and teach them the American way of what we do to become champions.
Wow.
And we had to fly out, and
you were afraid they weren't going to let you come home at all. That's probably why you left.
Yeah, they said no visa, no leave Russia. I didn't know what they was talking about, so my visa disappeared for a long time. They separated me from the guys.
Really?
For many, many hours. And back then it was only one plane leaving Russia that was on every Tuesday, once every Tuesday.
Oh my God.
I'll never forget that. I was tormented for probably about 3 hours.
What did they want you to do though?
They wanted me to stay. Stay. And they wanted me to do interviews, and they wanted me to pretty much teach them. I thought it was real rude. I'm gonna pay you, and then you're gonna leave. No.
That's funny. That's funny because you had all their money. That's why they gave you all this money.
Yeah. I'll tell you how.
You won the show. They wanted you to perform for them.
I go back to those areas now, and it's just wow, so business oriented, man, and that's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. Do you like Russia? I mean, in general.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been there a lot.
Of course, there's a lot of good people there. A lot of bodybuilding fans there. Familiar with St. Petersburg. I've toured. My company toured through the entire region of Russia, from Moscow all the way down through Russia, all the way down to Kazakhstan.
Wow!
I did a 2-week tour through the whole entire region of the whole country of Russia. Yeah, it's a very educated experience. Good people, over there. A lot of great fans over there. Like you can't get caught up in the political. The spats of what the countries are doing politically. The politicians and the presidents and whoever is running the country. I don't make my decision on the people because the president is screwing up, or the head ministry of that's running everything is screwing up. You have to go, and there's a lot of good people in every country. There's a lot of we do business all across the world, and there's a lot of good people. People like you and me. Who are decent human beings, and our country just certain countries just give the culture a bad rap, and that's not fair to the people. Yeah. We have fans in Russia. We have fans in Ukraine. We have fans in China. We have fans, in Israel. We have fans in Kazakhstan. We have fans in all over, and Palestine and everywhere around the world. Yeah. And I've been there, and I spent time with these people. I've been in Baghdad, and I've been in Iraq. I've toured through there, and I've been in their homes, and I've sat down with them, and I broke bread with them, and I see the hearts and the loving nature that they have, and it came through who they are as, human beings, right? So until you go there and you spend time with people, you can't judge what you see politically on TV.
Well, yeah, I mean, John F. Kennedy always said, he said in one of his famous speeches that, put yourself in the mind of the enemy. Everyone thinks that the person that we're supposedly an enemy of is this evil, terrible person that wants world conquest. No one wants that. Everyone wants to be peaceful.
Everyone wants peace.
Yeah.
You want peace. I want peace. I hate to see wars and fightings and all this stuff going on, and innocent people, lives being ripped and torn apart. It's just not right.
Yeah.
But all we can do is do our part, Dave. And that's why when I go out, I try to love everybody. I hug them. I give them samples and stuff from my company. We don't charge them for anything. Right. I spend hours and hours standing in line until I greet that last person to let them know, you know what, man, you are thought of. Yeah. I care about you, and just give them a hug. That can do a lot.
Yeah. Sports bring people together, even enemies together. I mean, even the Olympics were, during wars they've had Olympics, where everyone said, all right, we're not going to fight today. We're going to actually do sports, and then we'll go back to fighting on Monday, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so right, man.
Sports is the universal. I mean, that's why I said, in my experience in bodybuilding, maybe you can tell me more because you've seen more than I have. I haven't seen racism or bigotry or religious, it's like everyone is just brothers in iron.
Yeah.
We all have a commonality that we share with each other, a love for the sport.
It's so true. And that's hard work, the suffering that we go through, the respect that we have for one another to achieve that size or accomplish our goals. And that's just what it is. And you're so right about that, Dave. There isn't any racism, any lines drawn or crossed. I've never heard that in my life in our sport.
And it's funny because it's, as an American, I can be so happy that I see, Hattie, Choopan, an Iranian, win the Olympia because I respect the physique that he brought to the stage. It has nothing to do with where he's from or what his religious beliefs are. We love the bodybuilder because we know how hard, like you said, it is to do what he does. And not many people can achieve, the level of what he did. And so bodybuilding is a great, I guess you could say, model that the rest of the world should really use for how we get along with each other. If we can just find an awesome
equalizer. It's an awesome equalizer, and it brings people together, all races and all beliefs and all nationalities and religions. It really does.
I wish the world could use that as a model for how we deal with each other, because we would have a lot less wars and a lot less problems, I think, if we did. Kev, I know you got a busy schedule these next couple of weeks. I wanted to just thank you for stopping by and talking to us and getting us caught up. I'm sorry that I won't get to see you at the Olympia, but I know you got to be overseas. Where are you going on the Olympia weekend?
I'll be heading to Prague. I'll be heading to Prague. I got to first go to Poland over at the office, and then from there, I got to go to Switzerland, and I'm going to finish up in Dubai.
Wow!
But I'll be heading to I'll be heading in about four.
You must have so many frequent flyer miles, Kevin. What do you fly one airline all the time?
Mostly Lufthansa. Yeah.
And so you have like very high status because of all the flights you take?
Yeah, gold status.
That's great. Yeah, so at least they upgrade
Star Alliance and all that stuff.
That's great. Yeah, because you know what, people don't understand. I've traveled, not as much as you, but a couple of years I was traveling every weekend too. And when you have that high status, and going through the airport is so much nicer when they're like kissing your butt and they're like, oh, go into the lounge, go here.
Yeah.
Wait on this line. It's the travel experience is way different,
Yeah, you don't miss a beat. I mean, I'm sitting there on my laptop. And,
Wi-Fi, everything.
Yeah,
right.
It's just great. You know what I mean? You don't have to wait in line and just. But guess what? You don't start there.
No,
I didn't start my. I didn't have that. I mean, you got to think. I've been traveling going on 30 years.
Yeah.
So you have to start with first taking a chance and getting out of the comfort zone.
Right.
It took me many, 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 many years to get to that status.
Gotcha.
And it just don't happen overnight. You have to really, really prove yourself. So, everybody wants what you have, right, Dave? But they don't want the suffering.
Right. But when you travel once a year, you can deal with the airports. When you have to travel every weekend, it's much nicer to walk in and cut the line and go through and sit in the lounge until your flight comes. It makes the experience a lot more tolerable. Let me put it that way.
We map out everything ahead of time, the long flights from here to getting across, the seas, the water and everything is, what it is. And that's very, very comfortable. And then when we get there, we go private, the quick spurts, you know what I mean?
Right.
To just go from country to country. Yeah. And you got to do it like that. Once you can't bang out, 6 different countries in a short period of time. So
when you fly private from like a country to country, do you have to go through the same customs? How does that work?
No, it's different. You have your own little private thing there at the hangar that you go through.
Oh wow!
And it's of course there's less people there. You might see 2 or 3 or whatever, and it's a lot You ain't got to go through all the crazy stuff with the bag checks and all the Homeland Security stuff. They got one person there.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, and then all of a sudden they become really familiar with, with
Who you are.
with your travel schedule and plans. Only when I land here back in the USA is probably
They harass you?
Yeah, like flapping, like, what in the world? Where you been? Where you been? And then half the time I forgot where I was because I visited 6 different countries in such a short period of time. And I'm like, yeah.
You're like, I don't even know where I was. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like.
Plus, you're tired, you're all jet lagged and everything,
Yeah.
They're asking you 20 questions. Kev, once again, I love talking to you. I love having these deep conversations with you. And you're welcome back anytime. And best of luck over the next couple of weeks with your travel schedule.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you for having me on. And best to you and your family, man. And keep on pushing on, bro. You're doing a great job.
Appreciate it. And guys, that's going to take us to the end of another episode of RX Muscle's Iron Road to the Olympia 2023. I'm Dave Palumbo with Kevin Levrone. We'll see you next time.